The mate bond snapped like a rubber band pulled too tight. Arya's knees buckled, but she locked them, refused to fall. Not here. Not in front of 200 wolves who already thought she was nothing. I, Marcus Stone, reject you, Arya Wolf, as my mate. Marcus's voice rang through the gathering hall, each word a hammer blow. A wolfless Omega has no place beside me. The laughter started slow. A snicker from the back. A cruel chuckle near the front. Then it rolled through the crowd like thunder, and Arya stood there, center stage in her own humiliation, feeling the bond between them wither and die. She'd known this was coming. Had felt it in the way Marcus avoided her eyes for the past week, the way his touch turned cold after her 21st birthday came and went without her wolf appearing. But knowing didn't make it hurt less. Her father sat in the Alpha's chair on the raised platform, his face carved from stone. Alpha Drake didn't move to defend her. Didn't speak. His daughter was being rejected in front of the entire Silvermoon pack, and he watched like she was a stranger. Maybe to him, she was. Marcus turned his back on her, the ultimate insult, and walked away. His new girlfriend, Sierra, a strong beta female with a glossy black wolf, linked her arm through his. She looked back at Arya and smiled. The crowd dispersed. Conversations resumed. Just like that, Arya ceased to matter. She walked out of the hall on steady legs, head high. She made it to the tree line before she vomited into the bushes. 3 years ago, everything had been different. Her 18th birthday had dawned bright and clear, and Arya had woken with electricity in her veins. Today she'd shift for the first time, feel her wolf rise up and claim her place in the pack. Her mother had been a late shifter too, 18 instead of 16, so Arya wasn't worried. The pack gathered in the clearing at moonrise. Her father stood with the other alphas and betas, actually looking proud for once. Lena, her best friend since childhood, squeezed her hand. You're going to be amazing. I can feel it. The moon rose full and silver. Arya waited for the change. And waited. The other late shifters, 3 of them, transformed within minutes, their wolves bursting free with howls of joy. Arya stood there, human and alone, while whispers started around her like wasps. Nothing's happening. Is she broken? I heard her mother was weak too. Her father's face had gone from proud to horrified to blank in the span of minutes. He'd gripped her arm hard enough to bruise and hauled her away from the gathering. You will try again tomorrow night. And the night after. Until your wolf appears. But her wolf never did. And her father's disappointment turned to disgust. You need to leave. Tonight. Lena pressed a backpack into Arya's hands, her eyes wide with fear. They stood in the shadows behind the pack houses, speaking in whispers even though most wolves were at the gathering hall, probably still laughing about the rejection. What are you talking about? Arya's voice came out flat. Empty. She felt hollowed out, scraped clean. Drake's exiling you tomorrow. I heard him talking to the Beta Council. He's calling you a stain on the bloodline. Lena's voice cracked. Arya, you're my best friend. My sister. Please. Run. The pack was all Arya had ever known. These woods, these people, this hierarchy that said she was worthless. Leaving meant becoming a rogue, and rogues didn't last long out there. The wilds between territories were dangerous. No pack protection, no pack bonds. Just survival. But staying meant watching Marcus with Sierra. Meant her father's cold eyes and the pack's mockery and waking up every day to the reminder that she'd failed at the most basic thing a wolf could do. Where would I even go? Anywhere. Lena hugged her hard. You're stronger than they think. Your mom taught you herbs, tracking, survival skills. You can make it. Arya pulled back, studied her friend's face. You knew. About the exile. Since this morning. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I was trying to find a way to change his mind, but Drake won't listen to anyone. Lena's eyes shimmered with tears. He's different since your mom died. Harder. That was true. Her mother's death 2 years ago had changed everything. She'd been the pack's healer, respected and loved. When the fever took her, something in Drake had broken. Or maybe it had just revealed what was always there. Go to your father, Arya said. Tell him you saw me heading east, toward Blackwater territory. But I'm going north. Tell him east. Arya shouldered the backpack, testing its weight. Food, water, a knife, matches. Lena had thought of everything. If he tracks me, I need him looking the wrong way. They hugged once more, fierce and fast. Then Arya walked into the forest and didn't look back. The first week was hell. Arya had skills, her mother had made sure of that, but skills only went so far when you were alone, exhausted, and grieving everything you'd lost. She followed streams, stayed off game trails where pack wolves might patrol. Slept in trees when she could, caves when she couldn't. Her supplies ran out after 5 days, and then she was foraging for edible plants, setting snares for rabbits, moving constantly north. At night, she felt it. That phantom sensation inside her chest, like something caged and pacing. Her wolf, locked away behind a door she couldn't open. I know you're there, she whispered to the darkness. I don't know why you won't come out, but I know you're real. The feeling pulsed once, almost like an answer. By the second week, Arya hit her stride. She found a rhythm in the solitude. No one to please, no one to disappoint. Just her and the forest and the satisfaction of making it through another day. She traveled for 3 months, drifting through unclaimed territories, skirting pack lands, living like the ghost she'd become. The wilderness changed her. Hardened her. Taught her that she was stronger than anyone back home had believed. Including herself. The blizzard hit without warning. 1 minute Arya was following a ridge line, wrapped in the fur-lined cloak she'd traded for in the last human town. The next, the sky opened up and the world turned white. She'd seen plenty of snow in the northern territories, but this was different. This was a wall of wind and ice that tried to flay the skin from her bones. Visibility dropped to nothing. The temperature plummeted. Arya stumbled forward, one hand stretched ahead, searching for shelter. Hypothermia would kill her faster than starvation. Her mother's training kicked in: find cover, stay dry, preserve body heat. Her fingers hit rock. A cliff face, thank God. She felt her way along it, praying for an overhang, a crevice, anything. The wind screamed around her. There. A gap in the stone, barely visible through the snow. A cave. Arya squeezed through the entrance and collapsed on the stone floor, gasping. Cold bit through her clothes, but at least the wind couldn't reach her here. She'd made it. Then she smelled it. Blood. And something else. Something wrong. Her eyes adjusted to the darkness. The cave went back farther than she'd thought, and there, collapsed against the far wall, was a man. Not just any man. Even in the shadows, she could see he was massive, well over 6 feet, broad-shouldered, powerful. His clothes were shredded and soaked with blood. And spreading up his neck and across his face were black veins, pulsing with something that looked like infection but moved like it was alive. Arya's breath caught. She should leave. Should run. This man was clearly dangerous, clearly dying, and getting involved would only. Her eyes landed on his torn jacket. On the silver crest embroidered above his heart, still visible despite the blood and dirt. The royal crest. 3 wolves beneath a crown. No, Arya whispered. No, no, no. She crawled closer, against every instinct screaming at her to get out. In the dim light filtering through the cave entrance, she could make out his face now. Sharp features, strong jaw, dark hair matted with sweat. He looked like he'd been carved from marble and then smashed. And he was barely breathing. This was Cade Thorne. The Alpha King. The wolf who'd united the territories through conquest and blood. The most powerful alpha in 3 generations. And he was dying in a cave in the middle of nowhere, with black poison spreading through his veins like wildfire. Arya's healer instincts warred with her common sense. This man had destroyed packs, crushed rebellions, built his throne on the bones of his enemies. Letting him die would probably make the world a better place. But her mother's voice echoed in her mind, "We heal because it's right. Not because they deserve it." Damn it. Arya shrugged off her backpack and moved toward the dying king. "You better be worth this." His eyes snapped open, gold as a wolf's, fever bright, and his hands shot out, gripping her throat with what should have been impossible strength for someone so close to death. "Who?" His voice was gravel and broken glass. "Who sent you?" Arya couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. His grip was iron. Black veins crawled across his knuckles. Then his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed again, unconscious. Arya sat back, rubbing her throat, heart pounding. The blizzard howled outside. The Alpha King lay dying at her feet. And Arya had a choice to make. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she pulled out her mother's herb kit and got to work. "You're going to owe me for this," she muttered, and began the impossible task of saving the most dangerous man alive. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 2. Arya's hands shook as she cut away Cade's shirt. Not from fear, though there was plenty of that, but from the cold. The blizzard had been raging for an hour, and the temperature in the cave was dropping fast. She needed fire, needed light, needed about a dozen things she didn't have. What she did have was a dying Alpha King and a choice that shouldn't have been a choice at all. Smart play would be walking away, she muttered, examining the black veins spreading across his chest like cracks in ice. Let nature take its course. One less tyrant in the world. But her fingers were already moving, checking his pulse, thready and weak, pressing against the swollen lymph nodes in his neck, studying the pattern of the poisoning. This was what her mother had trained her for. What all those late nights mixing salves and memorizing symptoms had been about. "We don't choose who deserves healing, Arya. We just heal." "You always made it sound so simple, Mom," Arya whispered. She pulled her herb kit closer and started laying out what she had. Dried yarrow, sage, crushed garlic, a precious vial of colloidal silver. Not much, but it would have to be enough. Because she'd already identified what was killing him, and it was bad. Wolfsbane. The purple flowering plant that was poison to their kind, burning through shifter blood like acid. But this wasn't just wolfsbane. The black veins, the way they moved under his skin, that was nightshade mixed in. And from the silver burns around the injection site on his neck, someone had laced the whole mixture with silver powder to make sure it stuck. This was an assassination. Professional, deliberate, and nearly perfect. "Someone really wanted you dead," she said, studying the puncture wound. "Can't say I blame them." Cade Thorne's reputation had reached even her isolated pack. The Alpha who'd conquered the Eastern Territories in 5 brutal years. Who'd crushed the rebellion at Blackwater and left no survivors. Who ruled with an iron fist and showed mercy to no one. And here he was, reduced to flesh and poison and labored breathing. Arya built a fire near the cave entrance, using the driest wood she could find and nursing the flames until they caught. The smoke would vent through cracks in the rock. Probably. If it didn't, they'd suffocate, but freezing seemed the more immediate concern. Once she had light and heat, she got to work. Her mother had taught her the poison extraction technique when Arya was 15. "You cut here," Elena Wolf had said, tracing a line over the heart. "Deep enough to reach the muscle, shallow enough to avoid the vital vessels. Then you pack it with activated charcoal and draw herbs. The body will push the poison out through the wound rather than circulating it through the blood." "That sounds insane," Arya had said. "It is. But it works." Her mother's smile had been sad. "I pray you never have to use it." Now, 3 years after her mother's death, Arya heated her knife in the fire until the blade glowed. She had no alcohol to sterilize it, no proper surgical tools. Just a hunting knife, her herbs, and knowledge that felt too thin to save a life. Here goes everything, she breathed, and cut. Cade's body jerked, even unconscious. His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist with crushing force. His eyes snapped open, pure gold, wild and unfocused. "Stop," he rasped. "Don't. I'm helping you, you idiot." Arya wrenched her wrist free, adrenaline making her strong. "Hold still or you'll die." Maybe he understood. Maybe the poison dragged him back under. Either way, he went limp again, and Arya kept cutting. The wound welled with blood darker than it should be, tainted with black streaks. She packed it with charcoal paste, then a poultice of yarrow and sage. The herbs would draw out the poison. In theory. She'd never actually done this on anything larger than a rabbit. "Don't die," she told him. "I didn't drag you away from the cave entrance and waste my supplies just so you could die anyway." Cade didn't answer. His breathing had gone shallow, rattling in his chest. Arya wrapped the wound, then turned her attention to moving him closer to the fire. He was easily 6'5", probably 220 of solid muscle. Moving him was like trying to drag a boulder. She hooked her arms under his shoulders and pulled. Gained 6 inches. Pulled again. Her shoulders screamed. Her legs shook. "You know what?" she panted. "You could stand to skip a few meals." It took 20 minutes to drag him the 10 feet to the fire. By the time she finished, Arya was drenched in sweat despite the cold, her muscles burning. She collapsed next to him, gasping. The fire crackled. Wind howled outside. And the Alpha King's fever began to spike. The first night was the worst. Cade's temperature soared. His body shook with convulsions, muscles seizing as the poison and the cure waged war in his blood. Arya changed the poultice every few hours, each time revealing more black corruption oozing from the wound. Good. The poison was coming out. But there was so much of it. She forced water between his lips when she could. Bathed his forehead with snow melted over the fire. Monitored his pulse, his breathing, the color of his skin. And listened to him hallucinate. Damien. The name came out broken, anguished. "Brother, why?" His hand clutched at nothing, fingers grasping. Tears leaked from the corners of his eyes. "You were supposed to, we were supposed to." His voice cracked. "Traitor. You God's damned traitor." Arya pressed a cool cloth to his forehead. "Easy. You're safe now." "Not safe. Never safe." His eyes moved beneath closed lids, seeing things she couldn't. "They're all dead. All of them. Because I wasn't fast enough. Wasn't strong enough." Something in his voice made her chest tight. This wasn't the ruthless conqueror everyone feared. This was someone drowning in grief. "Who's dead?" she asked softly, even though he couldn't really hear her. "Sarah. My Sarah." The words were a howl of pain. "Don't leave me. Please. Please don't leave me." His body arched off the ground, and Arya had to pin his shoulders down to keep him from tearing open the wound. He was so strong, even like this. She used all her weight, all her strength. "I'm here," she said, because what else could she say? "You're not alone. I'm here." Slowly, he calmed. His breathing evened out. The fever didn't break, but it stopped climbing. Arya sat back, exhausted, and really looked at him for the first time. Scars. God, so many scars. They covered his chest, his arms, disappearing beneath his waistband. Some were clean surgical lines. Others were jagged, violent. Claw marks raked across his ribs. A burn covered his left shoulder. Something that looked like a blade wound curved around his side. This was a man who'd been to war and back. Multiple times. "You've killed so many," she whispered, tracing a scar without touching him. Destroyed whole packs. Crushed anyone who stood against you. The fire popped, sending sparks spiraling up. But I can't let you die. Her voice dropped even lower. What does that make me? Cade's only answer was a shuddering breath. Her mother's face swam in her memory as Arya worked through the second day. Elena Wolf, with her gentle hands and iron will. The pack healer who'd saved dozens of lives and asked for nothing in return. Who'd taught Arya that every plant had a purpose, every injury had a treatment, every life had value. Even the bad ones, Mom? Arya asked the empty cave. Even the ones who deserve what they get? She remembered a day when she was 12. A rogue had stumbled into their territory, half dead from infected wounds. The pack had wanted to kill him on sight. Rogues were dangerous, unpredictable. But Elena had insisted on treating him first. We are not animals, she'd told Alpha Drake, her mate. We are wolves, yes. But we are also people. And people don't kill the helpless. Drake had allowed it, though he hadn't been happy. The rogue had recovered, thanked them, and left peacefully. 2 weeks later, he'd returned with his pack and attacked Silvermoon borders. 3 wolves had died in the fighting. See? Drake had raged at Elena. See what your mercy bought us? But Elena hadn't flinched. I will not let fear make me cruel. Not ever. Arya understood her father's anger better now. Understood how dangerous mercy could be when you gave it to the wrong person. But she also understood her mother's conviction. Because sitting here in this cave, watching Cade Thorne fight for every breath, Arya couldn't bring herself to be the executioner. I'm either too soft or too stupid, she told him, changing his bandage again. Probably both. On the second night, his fever finally broke. Arya dozed by the fire, too exhausted to stay fully awake, too worried to sleep deeply. Every few minutes she'd jolt alert, check his breathing, add wood to the fire. Somewhere around midnight, she felt it. The shift in the air, the change in his breathing pattern. His wolf was healing him now. The poison was weak enough that his shifter regeneration could finally kick in. The black veins were fading from his skin, retreating from his face and hands. He was going to live. Relief and dread hit her in equal measure. Great, she muttered. Now I've got to figure out what to do with a conscious Alpha King. This just keeps getting better. The third day, Cade slept naturally instead of fever dreaming. His color improved. His breathing steadied. The wound on his chest was already starting to close, pink new skin replacing the angry infected tissue. Arya ventured to the cave entrance and found the blizzard finally dying. Snow was piled 6 feet deep, but the wind had stopped, and she could see gray sky through the clouds. Another day, maybe 2, and she could leave. The thought should have brought relief. Instead, she felt, what? Reluctant? Curious? Stupid. She felt stupid. Because she kept watching him sleep and wondering who Sarah was. Who Damien was. What had happened to put all those scars on his body and that anguish in his voice. None of your business, she told herself firmly. Save his life, leave before he wakes up, forget this ever happened. That was the smart play. The only play. But that night, as she sat by the fire mixing a tea that would help with his remaining inflammation, she found herself talking to him again. You know, you're not what I expected. The stories paint you as this monster, this unstoppable force. But you cry in your sleep. You beg someone named Sarah not to leave. She stirred the tea, watching the herbs swirl. Makes you seem almost human. His breathing changed, just slightly. Though I guess monsters are made, not born. Something happened to you. Something that hurt. She poured the tea into her only cup, letting it cool. Not that it excuses anything. You still. His hand shot out and locked around her throat. Arya's cup shattered on the stone. She clawed at his fingers, but they were iron, crushing her windpipe. Her vision sparked with black spots. Cade's eyes blazed gold in the firelight, fever bright and feral. His wolf was right there, right at the surface, ready to kill. Who sent you to finish me? His voice was gravel, death, everything cold and final. Tell me. Arya couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. Her lungs burned. She was going to die here, killed by the man she'd saved, and wasn't that just perfect? His eyes widened. His grip loosened, just enough for her to gasp in air. You. He pulled her closer, inhaling deeply near her neck. Confusion crossed his face. You have no scent. What are you? Then his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed again, unconscious. Arya scrambled backward, coughing, hand pressed to her bruised throat. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The Alpha King was awake. And he'd just asked the one question she couldn't answer. What was she? A wolfless Omega. A rejected mate. A healer with no pack. A woman with something locked inside her that felt like a wolf but wouldn't come out. She stared at his unconscious form, at the rise and fall of his chest, at the face that had just promised her death. This, she whispered hoarsely, was a terrible mistake. But it was too late to undo it now. Outside, the blizzard finally died. And inside the cave, everything was about to change. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 3. Arya didn't sleep the rest of that night. She sat across the fire from Cade's unconscious body, her knife in her hand, watching every breath he took. Her throat ached where his fingers had pressed. Another few seconds and he would have crushed her windpipe. You have no scent. His words echoed in her head. She'd never thought about it before, whether she had a scent or not. Wolves knew each other by smell, could identify pack and rank and emotion through scent alone. But she'd never shifted, never fully accessed that part of herself. Maybe that's what happened when your wolf was locked away. Maybe you became a ghost. Dawn broke cold and gray. Arya added wood to the fire and started heating water for tea. Her hands moved automatically through the familiar routine while her mind raced through exit strategies. She could leave now. He was stable enough. The blizzard had passed. She could be miles away before he woke again. But something kept her frozen in place. Curiosity, maybe. Or stupidity. Or the memory of his voice breaking in fever dreams, begging someone not to leave. Stupid, she muttered. Definitely stupid. Talking to yourself is the first sign of madness. Arya spun, knife raised. Cade was awake, propped up on one elbow, watching her with eyes that were clear now. Fully aware. And far too intelligent. Easy. He raised one hand slowly. I'm not going to hurt you. You tried to kill me 3 hours ago. I was defending myself. There's a difference. He sat up carefully, wincing as the movement pulled at his healing wound. His eyes never left hers. You saved my life. It wasn't a question, but Arya nodded anyway. Why? She'd known he'd ask. Had been preparing an answer. But under that golden stare, every prepared lie evaporated. I don't know, she said honestly. Seemed like the right thing to do at the time. I'm rethinking that choice now. A smile ghosted across his face. Barely there, gone in a heartbeat, but it transformed him. Made him look younger. Almost human. Fair enough. He glanced down at his chest, at the bandage wrapped around his torso. This is good work. Professional. Where did you learn field medicine? Here and there. Arya kept the knife in her hand but lowered it slightly. You're welcome, by the way. Thank you. The words came easier than she'd expected. Now tell me who you are and what you're doing in the middle of nowhere during the worst blizzard in 50 years. There it was. The interrogation. She'd known it was coming. Arya shrugged, affecting casual. I'm nobody. A rogue. I travel. Rogues don't usually carry healers' kits. This one does. And rogues definitely don't risk their lives to save strangers. His eyes narrowed. Especially not strangers who've been poisoned by their enemies. You knew what you were getting into. You knew saving me might make you a target. Maybe I didn't think that far ahead. You're lying. He said it calmly, matter of fact. Your heartbeat spikes when you lie. And you won't meet my eyes. Damn enhanced werewolf hearing. Arya forced herself to look directly at him. I'm a rogue by choice. That's all you need to know. By choice. He studied her, taking in her worn clothes, the lean hardness that came from months of survival living, the wariness in her eyes. What pack did you leave? Does it matter? It might. It doesn't. She set her jaw. I'm packless. That's the end of it. Cade was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. All right. We'll leave it there. For now. The threat was gentle but unmistakable. This wasn't over. Arya handed him a cup of tea. Drink this. It'll help with the residual inflammation. He accepted it, sniffed it carefully, smart, given someone had just poisoned him, then drank. Good. What's in it? Yarrow, sage, a bit of willow bark for pain. She poured her own cup. The wound will take another day or two to fully close, even with your healing. Don't do anything stupid like shifting or fighting. I'll try to restrain myself. That ghost of a smile again. What's your name? She hesitated. Names had power. But he'd already seen her face, heard her voice. What was one more piece of information? Arya. Arya. He tested it, his voice turning it into something almost musical. I'm Cade Thorne. Alpha King of the Eastern Territories. I know. She met his eyes steadily. Everyone knows. Then you know my reputation. I do. And you saved me anyway. He set down his tea, wincing again as he shifted position. Interesting. Or idiotic. Perhaps both. He was watching her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. Not threatening, exactly. More like, assessing. My wolf likes you. Arya blinked. Excuse me? My wolf. He's calm around you. He's never calm. Cade's voice dropped. Not since. He didn't finish, but she heard the grief underneath. Sarah. My Sarah. Don't leave me. Since your mate died, Arya said quietly. His head snapped up. I never said. You talked in your fever dreams. She kept her voice gentle. I'm sorry for your loss. Something flickered across his face. Pain, raw and deep. Then it was gone, locked away behind walls of iron. That was 3 years ago. His voice was flat. Ancient history. But it wasn't. She could see it in the shadows in his eyes, the way his hand unconsciously moved to touch a scar over his heart. The wind picked up outside, reminding them both that they were still trapped here. Together. The blizzard came back with a vengeance that afternoon, as if the brief respite had been a cruel joke. Snow fell in sheets, wind howled through cracks in the stone, and the temperature dropped until even the fire struggled to keep them warm. They were stuck. For at least another day, maybe 2. Arya tried to maintain distance, staying on her side of the fire. But the cave was only so big, and Cade took up a lot of space even when he was trying not to. Tell me about the scars, he said suddenly. She'd been checking his bandage. The wound was healing beautifully, new skin already forming. Her hands stilled. What about them? The ones on your back. Whip marks, if I'm not mistaken. His voice was carefully neutral. And the burns on your wrists. Rope restraints, held too long. Arya pulled away, putting the fire between them again. You're very observant. I've seen my share of torture. Those marks are punishment wounds. His eyes hardened. Your pack did that to you. It wasn't a question. But she answered anyway. They had their reasons. There's no reason that justifies. I failed. The words came out harsh. I didn't shift when I was supposed to. I embarrassed my father. Weakened the bloodline. So yes, they punished me. That's pack law. That's abuse. That's survival. She wrapped her arms around herself. The strong rule. The weak obey. I was weak. You're not weak. He said it with absolute certainty. You survived 3 months alone in the wilderness. You saved my life under conditions that would have broken most trained healers. You're still here, still fighting. He leaned forward, intensity rolling off him in waves. That's not weakness, Arya. That's strength. No one had ever said that to her before. Not her father, not Marcus, not even Lena. They'd all pitied her, tolerated her, or despised her. But no one had ever called her strong. Your turn, she said, deflecting. Tell me about yours. He glanced down at his scarred chest. Most of these are from battles. Territory disputes, challenges, wars. He traced one particularly nasty scar. This one was from the Blackwater Rebellion. Their alpha got in a lucky shot before I took his head. The casual way he said it should have chilled her. Probably would have, if she hadn't spent 3 days watching him suffer. And this one? She pointed to the burn on his shoulder. His jaw tightened. Silver chains. I was captured during the border wars 5 years ago. Held for 3 days before my warriors found me. That must have been instructive. He cut her off. It taught me never to be weak again. Never to trust easily. Never to leave my back exposed. Is that why your brother poisoned you? The temperature in the cave seemed to drop 10 degrees. Cade's eyes went cold, dangerous. What do you know about my brother? Only what you said in your fever dreams. Damien. You called him a traitor. For a long moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then something in him seemed to break, just a little. Damien is my twin. My blood. We've fought side by side for 20 years. His hands clenched into fists. And he put wolfsbane and nightshade in my drink because he wants my throne. How do you know it was him? Because I'm not dead. Cade's smile was bitter. Anyone else would have used a faster poison. But Damien wanted me to suffer. Wanted me to know who'd beaten me. That's always been his weakness, he needs the recognition. Arya thought about the careful mix of toxins, the deliberate cruelty of it. That's more than ambition. That's hatred. Yes. He stood abruptly, pacing despite his injury. His whole body vibrated with barely contained rage. How long was I unconscious? Before you found me? I don't know. You were already dying when I got here. I left the palace 6 days ago for a border inspection. Standard procedure. He was thinking out loud now, calculating. If Damien moved immediately, he's had almost a week. That's enough time to consolidate power, bribe the council, spread lies about my death. He turned to her, and she saw the Alpha King now. Not the wounded man, not the grieving mate. The predator who'd conquered territories and crushed rebellions. I need to get back. Now. You're still healing. And there's a blizzard. I don't care. He started gathering his torn clothes, moving with purpose despite the pain it had to be causing. Every day I'm gone, Damien entrenches himself deeper. If I wait too long, there won't be a kingdom to return to. Arya watched him struggle into his shirt, saw him sway slightly. He was stronger, yes. But still weak. Still vulnerable. And heading into what was clearly a trap. You'll die, she said flatly. Probably. He met her eyes. Come with me. She laughed. Couldn't help it. You're insane. Come with me. Be my Luna. The laughter died in her throat. What? You heard me. He moved toward her, purposeful despite his injuries. I'm claiming you. As my mate. My Luna. I'm nobody. She backed away. A wolfless Omega. I can't. You're the woman who carried me 6 miles through a blizzard when you could have left me to die. He kept coming, and she kept backing up until she hit the cave wall. You're stronger than half my warriors. Smarter than most of my council. My wolf has chosen you. I'm not asking, Arya. I'm telling you. You can't just. I'm the Alpha King. I can do whatever I want. He braced his hands on either side of her head, caging her in. And what I want is you. This is crazy. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. His eyes dropped to her lips, then back up. I know you're brave. I know you're skilled. I know you've been hurt, rejected, cast aside. And I know that when you look at me, you don't see the monster everyone else does. Maybe I should. But you don't. His voice dropped to a whisper. Say yes, Arya. She should refuse. Should run. Should do literally anything except stand here feeling her heartbeat race and her skin flush and something deep inside her respond to his nearness. But she'd been alone for so long. Been nothing and no one for so long. And here was someone, the most powerful someone, telling her she was worth something. She started. He didn't wait for the answer. His head dipped, and he bit down on the curve of her neck. Not hard enough to break skin, but firm enough to mark. To claim. The sensation shot through her like lightning. Her knees went weak. Something inside her, that locked away part, that phantom wolf, stirred for the first time in years. Cade pulled back, satisfaction in his eyes. You're mine now. My Luna. My mate. Arya touched the mark, feeling the heat of it. You didn't give me a choice. No. He didn't sound sorry. I didn't. Why? Because in about 12 hours, we're walking into a war. And I need you to survive it. He cupped her face, surprisingly gentle. I won't lose another mate. Not ever again. Before she could respond, voices echoed from outside the cave. Footsteps crunching through snow. Cade's whole body went tense. His eyes flashed gold. Get behind me. Cade. Now. She moved just as figures appeared at the cave entrance. Royal guards in black and silver, at least a dozen of them. And at their head, a man who looked exactly like Cade. Same height, same build, same sharp features. But where Cade's eyes held warmth beneath the dominance, this man's were ice. Where Cade's scars spoke of battles fought head-on, this man moved with the slithering grace of someone who struck from shadows. Damien Thorne smiled, and it was a predator's smile. Brother, he said pleasantly. You survived. What a pity. His eyes slid to Arya, and his smile widened. And you brought a pet. How quaint. He gestured lazily to his guards. Kill her. Bring him to me in chains. The guards drew their weapons and advanced into the cave. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 4. The first guard lunged at Arya with a blade aimed at her throat. She didn't think. Her body moved on instinct, muscle memory from years of her mother's secret training. She sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and used his momentum to send him crashing into the cave wall. The crack of his skull against stone echoed through the chamber. Well, Cade said from beside her, snapping another guard's neck with clinical efficiency. You're full of surprises. 3 more guards came at her simultaneously. Arya dropped low, sweeping the legs out from under one. She caught the second's blade arm, twisted until something popped, and drove her elbow into the third's solar plexus. Stay light. Stay moving. Your size is an advantage, they'll underestimate you. Use that. Her mother's voice in her head, as clear as if Elena were standing beside her. Where did you learn to fight? Cade demanded, ripping a guard off her back and throwing him across the cave. My mother believed in being prepared. Arya ducked a sword swing and drove her knife into the guard's thigh. Not fatal, but he went down screaming. She was right. They fought back to back, a strange synchronicity developing between them. When Cade moved left, she moved right. When she ducked, he struck high. For someone who'd been dying 3 days ago, he fought like a demon, all brutal efficiency and lethal grace. Damien watched from the cave entrance, arms crossed, that cold smile never wavering. Fascinating. The pet has claws. Kill them both. Damien. A new voice, sharp with authority. Stand down. Now. A massive man appeared behind Damien, flanked by 24 guards in royal colors, true royal colors, not the corrupted black that Damien's forces wore. This man was easily 6'6", built like a tank, with silver streaking his dark hair and scars that marked him as a veteran of 1,000 battles. His eyes locked on Cade, and relief flooded his features. Your Majesty. Thank the gods. Ronan. Cade straightened, breathing hard. You're a sight for sore eyes. Damien's smile finally cracked. He assessed the odds, his 12 guards against Ronan's 24, and stepped back smoothly. Brother. How wonderful that you've recovered. I was so worried. The lie dripped like honey. When you collapsed during the border inspection, we feared the worst. I've been searching everywhere for you. I'm sure you have. Cade's voice could have cut glass. We'll discuss your concern when we return to the palace. Something flickered in Damien's eyes. Rage, maybe. Or calculation. Then he bowed, perfectly proper. Of course. I'm so relieved you're well. He turned and walked away, his guards following. But not before his gaze slid to Arya one more time, assessing. Measuring. Promising. The moment he was gone, Cade's knees buckled. Arya caught him before he hit the ground. Stubborn idiot, she muttered. You reopened the wound. Worth it. He leaned heavily on her, and she felt the warmth of fresh blood seeping through his shirt. Ronan, this is Arya. My mate. My Luna. The big man's eyes widened. Then narrowed. He looked at Arya like she was a bomb about to explode. Your Majesty, perhaps we should discuss. There's nothing to discuss. Cade's voice went hard. She saved my life. She's mine. And anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me personally. Ronan's jaw tightened, but he nodded. As you command. Arya had a feeling this was going to be a very long day. The royal palace rose from the mountainside like something out of a nightmare. Massive didn't begin to cover it. The structure was all sharp angles and dark stone, more fortress than home, with towers that pierced the clouds and walls thick enough to withstand a siege. Guards patrolled every rampart. Banners bearing the 3-wolf crest snapped in the wind. It was magnificent. It was terrifying. And Arya was supposed to live here now. Try not to look so horrified, Cade murmured in her ear. It's not a prison. Could have fooled me. They'd been riding for 6 hours, Arya sharing Cade's horse because apparently that's what newly mated pairs did. She could feel eyes on them from every direction, guards, servants, courtiers who'd come out to witness the Alpha King's return. And they were all staring at her. Who is she? The whispers started immediately. Where did she come from? She has no scent. No wolf. A nobody. An omega at best. She'll be dead in a week. Arya kept her chin up, her face blank. She'd survived worse than gossip. But something about the collective hostility made her skin crawl. Cade's hand found hers, squeezed once. A promise. I've got you. The palace interior was somehow worse. Soaring ceilings, marble floors, tapestries depicting battle after bloody battle. Servants in livery moved like shadows. And everywhere, the sense of being watched. Judged. The throne room, Ronan said grimly. The court is assembled. Of course they were. News traveled fast in a palace. The king returns from the dead with a mystery woman? That was entertainment. The throne room doors swung open, and Arya's breath caught despite herself. It was enormous. 100 people at least, all in their finest clothes, all turning to stare. The throne itself sat on a raised platform at the far end, black stone carved with wolves, imposing and absolute. Cade walked toward it like he owned the world. Which, technically, he did. Arya followed, feeling the weight of every stare, every whispered comment. Is that her? Pathetic. He's lost his mind. Cade took his throne, and the room fell silent. When he spoke, his voice carried to every corner. 6 days ago, I was poisoned. Left to die in the wilderness. His eyes swept the crowd, and people actually flinched. I survived because of this woman. Arya saved my life when she could have left me to rot. She asked for nothing in return. He stood, held out his hand to her. Arya climbed the steps on shaking legs, took it. I claim her as my mate. My Luna. My queen. His voice rang with absolute authority. Anyone who disrespects her disrespects me. Anyone who threatens her threatens the crown. Are we clear? Silence. Then, slowly, people began to bow. Not all of them. Not even most of them. But enough. And half the court turned and walked out. Just, left. Abandoning their king in a blatant show of disrespect. Cade didn't even flinch. Meeting adjourned. That went well, Arya said flatly. They were in what Cade called the Luna's suite, a series of rooms that connected to his own, all decorated in shades of silver and white. Beautiful. Pristine. Cold. It went exactly as expected. Cade lowered himself into a chair, wincing as his wound pulled. Change takes time. They'll adjust. Or they'll kill me in my sleep. That's what the guards are for. He wasn't joking. A knock at the door interrupted them. An older woman entered, gray-haired and sharp-eyed, wearing a housekeeper's practical dress. But there was something in the way she moved, the way she assessed Arya, that spoke of authority. Your Majesty. My lady. She curtsied smoothly. I'm Elena Morrison, head of palace staff. I've been instructed to help you, adjust. Elena. The same name as her mother. Arya's throat tightened. Thank you, Mrs. Morrison. Just Elena, please. The woman's eyes were kind, but cautious. We have much to cover. Court protocol, proper address, dining etiquette, the hierarchy of. She'll learn. Cade stood, favoring his injured side. Right now, she needs rest. We both do. Elena nodded. Of course. I'll return in the morning. She paused at the door. For what it's worth, my lady, the palace could use someone who fights. We've had enough politicians. Then she was gone. I like her, Arya said. Good. She's one of the few people here I actually trust. Cade moved toward the connecting door. Get some sleep. Tomorrow will be worse. Comforting. He paused, looked back at her. Something soft entered his expression, at odds with the ruthless king everyone else saw. You did well today. In the cave, in the throne room. You're stronger than you know. Then he was gone, and Arya was alone in rooms larger than her entire childhood home. She didn't sleep. She explored. The palace at night was a different creature. Shadows pooled in corners. Footsteps echoed. And Arya's restlessness drove her from her rooms into corridors lit by torches that cast dancing shadows on stone walls. She found the library by accident, a massive room lined with books from floor to ceiling, smelling of leather and old paper and secrets. And because she'd never been good at leaving well enough alone, she started reading. The histories were kept in the back. Leather-bound volumes documenting wars, treaties, conquests. She found the section on territorial expansion almost by accident. Eastern Territory acquisitions. Years 2019 to 2025. Her fingers trembled as she pulled the volume down. And there it was. Page 247. Silvermoon Pack, destroyed by Royal Order, March 15, 2022. 3 years ago. Right after Cade's mate died. Arya's vision blurred. She forced herself to keep reading. Alpha Drake Wolf discovered harboring enemies of the crown. Evidence of conspiracy to assassinate King Cade Thorne. Scorched Earth Protocol initiated when Drake triggered defensive measures, resulting in civilian casualties. Estimated dead, 340 wolves. Survivors, 12. Her father. Her father had tried to kill Cade. Had gotten her entire pack slaughtered in the process. Notes were scribbled in the margins in different handwriting. Drake's conspiracy confirmed by multiple sources. Luna Sarah's murder traced back to Drake's associate. Justice served, but at what cost? Arya's hands shook so hard she nearly dropped the book. Her father had killed Cade's mate. And Cade had destroyed her pack in retaliation. Find something interesting? Arya spun. A woman stood in the doorway, beautiful, elegant, with auburn hair and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. Nonsense. The library is for everyone. The woman glided closer. I'm Lady Celeste. And you must be the mysterious Luna everyone's talking about. Something about her set off warning bells. Too smooth. Too friendly. Just Arya. Just Arya. Celeste's smile widened. How charmingly humble. You know, it must be so overwhelming, coming here with no preparation, no training. If you ever need a friend at court, someone to help you navigate the politics. I'll keep that in mind. Do. Celeste's eyes dropped to the book in Arya's hands. Ah. Reading about the Silvermoon Massacre. Tragic, wasn't it? Though I suppose traitors get what they deserve. Arya's blood ran cold. Yes. I suppose they do. Well, I'll let you get back to your reading. Celeste turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Arya? A word of advice. The palace has ears everywhere. Be careful what secrets you keep. She left in a whisper of silk, and Arya stood alone with the truth burning in her hands. Cade had destroyed her family. Her entire world. And she'd just become his mate. She didn't remember walking back to her rooms. Didn't remember climbing into bed, still dressed. Her mind was a storm of revelation and betrayal and grief. Her father had been a traitor. A murderer. And Cade had been, what? Right? Wrong? Both? Sleep took her eventually, dragging her down into darkness. She woke to pressure on her chest. Her eyes snapped open. Cade stood over her bed, his face blank, his eyes vacant. And in his hand, raised high, was a silver dagger. Cade? Her voice came out strangled. What are you? The blade started to descend. Arya rolled, and the dagger punched through the mattress where her heart had been. She scrambled backward, hitting the headboard. Cade, stop. Fight it. He pulled the dagger free, turned toward her. His movements were mechanical, puppet-like. This wasn't him. This was something controlling him. Cade, please. Tears streamed down her face. I know you're in there. Fight it. His hand trembled. The blade wavered. Then someone laughed from the shadows. A figure stepped from behind the curtains, a man in dark robes, his face hidden, his voice cold with amusement. The poison's final gift, he said. A little warlock's curse, embedded in the toxin. Your precious king will kill you himself, little Omega. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. The dagger descended again. And Arya had nowhere left to run. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 5. Arya threw herself sideways as the blade came down. It missed her throat by inches, embedding in the pillow with a soft thunk. She hit the floor hard, scrambling on hands and knees toward the door. Cade pulled the dagger free, his movements jerky, wrong. His eyes were still vacant, still empty of everything that made him him. Cade, please. She backed against the wall. I know you can hear me. Fight it. The warlock laughed again, stepping fully into the torchlight. He was young, maybe 30, with the hollowed-out look of someone who traded too much of himself for power. Touching. But he can't hear you, girl. The curse has him completely. He'll kill you, then wake with your blood on his hands. Damien thought that was a nice touch, making him destroy what he loves. The dagger rose again. And something in Cade's hand trembled. His jaw clenched. Sweat broke out on his forehead. That's it, Arya whispered. You're stronger than this. You're stronger than him. Impossible, the warlock hissed. No one breaks my... Cade's hand jerked to the side. The dagger clattered to the floor. His whole body shook with the effort of fighting whatever held him. No. The warlock raised his hands, dark energy crackling between his fingers. You will obey. Cade took one step toward Arya. Then another. But his movements were his own now, fighting against invisible chains. He reached the warlock in 3 strides. You made, Cade ground out, his voice raw with effort, a mistake. His hand shot out, closing around the warlock's throat. The dark energy fizzled and died. You underestimated, Cade continued, lifting the man off the ground, how much I hate being controlled. The warlock's neck snapped with a sound like breaking branches. Cade dropped him and collapsed to his knees, gasping. His eyes cleared, awareness flooding back. He looked at the dagger, at Arya pressed against the wall, and horror crossed his face. Did I? His voice broke. Gods, did I hurt you? No. She crossed to him in 3 quick steps, dropping to her knees. You fought it. You won. I almost killed you. But you didn't. She cupped his face, forcing him to look at her. You fought through mind control strong enough to puppet an alpha king. Do you understand how impossible that is? The door burst open. Ronan charged in with 6 guards, weapons drawn. They took in the scene, the dead warlock, the dagger, Cade on his knees, Arya disheveled. Ronan's face went white. Your Majesty. What happened? Cade stood slowly, helping Arya up. His hand lingered on hers, as if reassuring himself she was real and whole. Someone tried to assassinate my Luna. Using me as the weapon. His voice had gone cold, dangerous. I want every council member in the throne room. Now. Your Majesty, it's 3 in the morning. I don't care if it's 3 in the afternoon on a saint's day. Get them. Now. The Alpha's command rolled through the words, impossible to disobey. And bring Damien. Especially bring Damien. The emergency council meeting was chaos. 20 lords and ladies, all dragged from their beds, all furious at the disruption. They filled the throne room with complaints and demands, voices rising over each other until Cade slammed his fist on the throne's armrest. The crack of stone echoed through the chamber. Everyone fell silent. A warlock attempted to murder my Luna tonight, Cade said. Using a curse embedded in the poison I was given 6 days ago. A curse that would have made me kill her with my own hands. Shocked murmurs rippled through the crowd. Damien, standing near the front, looked appropriately horrified. Brother, that's terrible. Do we know who hired this warlock? We're investigating. Cade's eyes never left his twin. But the curse required extensive preparation. Months of work. Whoever planned this has been orchestrating my downfall for a very long time. Lord Aldrich, a heavy-set man with iron-gray hair, stepped forward. Your Majesty, with all due respect, the fact that you were controlled at all is deeply concerning. I broke the control. This time. Aldrich's voice was grave. But what about next time? What if there is a next time? How can we trust a king who can be turned into a puppet? Agreement swept through the crowd. Even some of Cade's supporters looked uncertain. Lord Aldrich raises a valid point, Lady Morgana added. She was ancient, powerful, and had sat on this council for 40 years. An alpha who can be compromised is an alpha who endangers us all. Damien stepped forward, his expression pained. It breaks my heart to say this, brother. You know I love you. But perhaps you should step down. Temporarily. Until we're certain there are no other curses, no other threats. You want me to abdicate? Cade's voice was dangerously soft. Not abdicate. Just transfer power. Let me shoulder the burden while you recover. Damien spread his hands, the picture of reluctant duty. I only want what's best for the kingdom. How noble of you. Arya's voice cut through the room. Every head turned toward her. She stood at the base of the throne platform, still in her nightgown with a robe thrown over it, her hair wild. She looked like exactly what they thought she was, a nobody. An outsider. But she met their stares without flinching. My lady, Lord Aldrich said coldly, this is a council matter. You have no. I have every right. Someone tried to murder me tonight. That makes it my business. She climbed the steps to stand beside Cade. And I think you're all missing the obvious question. Which is? Damien asked, smile tight. The poison was designed to kill and control. That's incredibly sophisticated magic. It takes months to craft, as the king said. Which means whoever did this started planning before the assassination attempt even happened. She let that sink in. They needed the curse in place in case Cade survived the poison. This was a two-stage plan. Morgana's eyes sharpened. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that Prince Damien has been planning to take the throne for a very long time. Arya pulled a folded document from her robe pocket. She'd grabbed it from the warlock's room before the guards removed the body. This is a contract. Between the warlock and someone paying him 50,000 gold pieces to ensure the transfer of power. It's dated 8 months ago. She descended the steps and handed it to Morgana, who studied it with narrowed eyes. The signature is coded, Morgana said slowly. But the payment came from the royal treasury. Only 2 people have access to those funds. She looked up. The king, and his heir. Damien's smile never wavered, but something flickered in his eyes. Anyone could have forged. The warlock kept records. Very detailed records. Arya was bluffing, she'd only had time to grab the one contract. But Damien didn't know that. Including correspondence. Would you like me to fetch those as well, Prince Damien? For a long moment, no one moved. Then Damien laughed. Clever. You're more than just a pretty face, little Omega. He turned to the council. Fine. Let's say I did hire the warlock. Let's say I did poison my brother. Doesn't change the fact that he's compromised. Doesn't change the fact that he brought a complete unknown into the palace and made her Luna. His voice rose. We know nothing about this woman. Where she came from, what her intentions are. For all we know, she's the threat. That's enough. Cade's voice cracked like a whip. Is it? Or are you so besotted with your new toy that you can't see clearly? Damien addressed the council now, playing to the crowd. I call for a vote of no confidence. Right here, right now. All those who believe King Cade is unfit to rule, say aye. Silence stretched. Then, one by one, voices rang out. Aye. Aye. Arya's heart sank as the count climbed. 10. 12. 15. But then other voices joined in. Nay. The king stays. Nay. Nay. When the count finished, it was close. Terrifyingly close. 12 ayes. 13 nays. Cade remained king by a single vote. Damien's smile finally cracked. His face went hard, cold. I see. Then I suppose we understand each other, brother. We do. Cade stood. You're relieved of all duties. Confined to your quarters. If you set foot outside them without my permission, I'll consider it an act of treason. You can't. I'm the king. I just can. Cade nodded to Ronan. Escort the prince to his rooms. Post guards. No visitors. As Ronan and his men surrounded Damien, the prince locked eyes with Arya. The look promised pain. Promised death. Then he was gone, and the council began to disperse. But the damage was done. Half of them still thought Cade was compromised. And all of them thought Arya was the problem. She made it back to her rooms before the shaking started. Arya collapsed into a chair, adrenaline draining away and leaving her hollow. She just stood before the most powerful wolves in the kingdom and lied through her teeth. Had gambled everything on a bluff. And won. Barely. That was either brilliant or suicidal, Cade said from the doorway. I'm still deciding which. Both. Definitely both. Her hands trembled. Did you see Damien's face? He's going to. The window shattered. A figure in black dropped through in a shower of glass, blade already swinging. Arya threw herself backward, the chair clattering. The assassin followed, fast and silent, blade whistling through the air. Arya rolled, came up with a poker from the fireplace. She blocked the next strike, the impact jarring her bones. This assassin was good. Better than the guards in the cave. Professional. She backed toward the door, blocking and dodging. Where was Cade? Where were the guards? The assassin's blade caught her shoulder, slicing through fabric and skin. Blood bloomed, hot and immediate. And something inside Arya broke. Not broke, shattered. Like a dam giving way, like chains snapping. Power flooded through her, massive and ancient and undeniable. She screamed, but it came out as a howl. Her bones shifted. Her skin rippled. And for the first time in her life, her wolf surged forward. The transformation was agony and ecstasy. Her body reformed, growing, changing. White fur erupted across her skin. Her senses exploded, she could smell everything, hear everything, feel every current of air. When it finished, she stood on 4 legs. The assassin stumbled backward, weapon clattering from nerveless fingers. No. Impossible. You're. Arya looked down at herself. Massive paws. White fur that seemed to glow in the torchlight. And reflected in the assassin's wide, terrified eyes, silver irises. Silver wolf, the assassin whispered. You're a silver wolf. Then he was running, diving through the shattered window, disappearing into the night. Arya tried to shift back. Couldn't. Panic clawed at her. She was stuck like this, trapped in a body she didn't know how to control. Arya. Cade's voice, low and soothing. He'd appeared in the doorway, weapons drawn, but now he lowered them slowly. Arya, look at me. Breathe. She turned her massive head toward him. He looked smaller from this angle. Everything did. You shifted. Your wolf finally came. He moved closer, carefully. She's beautiful. You're beautiful. Guards poured into the room, weapons raised. Cade held up a hand. Stand down. All of you. Now. They lowered their weapons but didn't leave. All of them stared at Arya with identical expressions of shock. A silver wolf, one breathed. By the gods, she's a silver wolf. Someone get Elena Morrison, Cade ordered. Now. The housekeeper arrived within minutes, took one look at Arya, and went dead white. Oh, Elena, she whispered. Not the housekeeper, Arya's mother. Oh, my old friend. Your daughter finally woke up. Arya's wolf whined, confused. This woman knew her mother? Help her shift back, Cade said. I can try. Elena Morrison approached slowly, hands raised. Arya, honey, listen to my voice. Your wolf is part of you, but you're still in control. Feel for the human inside. Feel for your other form. It's there, waiting. Arya focused inward, searching. There, a thread of humanity, buried under all the new sensation. She grabbed it, pulled. The shift back was easier. Her bones reformed, fur receded, and then she was kneeling on the floor, naked and shaking and human. Elena immediately wrapped her in a blanket. Easy. First shifts are always rough. You knew. Arya's voice came out hoarse. You knew my mother. I did. Elena's eyes shimmered with tears. Elena Wolf was my dearest friend. We grew up together, before she went into hiding. Hiding from what? From people who would have used her. Controlled her. Killed her. Elena helped Arya into a chair. Your mother was a silver wolf, Arya. The last of a royal bloodline that was hunted to extinction centuries ago. She survived by hiding, by suppressing her wolf. And my father? Arya already knew the answer, but she had to hear it. Drake married her for her bloodline. For the power it represented. Elena's face hardened. When you were born and showed signs of inheriting her wolf, he had a witch bind it. Lock it away. Silver wolves are too powerful, he wanted you weak, controllable. The spell was supposed to break on your 25th birthday, Cade added quietly. But extreme trauma can trigger it early. Being rejected, exiled, nearly dying in a blizzard. He trailed off. And fighting for your life tonight broke what was left. Arya looked at her hands. They looked the same. But she could feel it now, the wolf inside her, finally free, finally real. My father, she said slowly, used me my entire life. Locked away who I was because it threatened him. Yes. Elena's voice was soft. And you? Arya turned to Cade. You destroyed my pack. Killed everyone I ever knew. Yes. At least he didn't try to deny it. Tell me why. The real reason. Cade was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with old grief. Drake was selling pack members to vampires. Using them as blood slaves, breeding stock. We received evidence, confirmed it, and I sent an envoy to negotiate his surrender. He met her eyes. Drake refused. And when we moved in to stop him, he triggered a scorched earth trap. Set fire to the territory, released poison gas. He killed his own people rather than face justice. We tried to save them, Ronan added from the doorway. We pulled out 12 survivors. But 340 died in the fires and the gas. Most of them were already dead before we even arrived. Drake murdered your pack, not me, Cade said. But I gave the order that led to it. I'll carry that guilt until I die. His voice dropped. And now you're here, his daughter, the survivor I never knew about. Fate is cruel. Arya processed this, trying to reconcile everything. Her father, the monster. Her mother, the hidden royal. Herself, the weapon Drake tried to suppress. Why did he kill your mate? She asked. Elena, my mother, why did Drake kill Sarah? Cade's face went hard as stone. Because Sarah discovered what he was doing. She was going to expose him. So he had her assassinated, made it look like rogues. Everything clicked into place. The timeline, the motivations, the tragic chain of events. We're both victims of the same man, Arya said softly. Yes. Cade crossed to her, knelt so they were eye level. I don't expect forgiveness. For your pack, for not finding you sooner, for any of it. But I need you to know, I didn't claim you to use you. I claimed you because you're the first person in 3 years who made me feel something other than rage and guilt. Before Arya could respond, the window behind them exploded inward. Not one figure this time. Dozens. And standing at the front, face twisted with fury, was Damien. Civil war it is, brother, he snarled. Hope she was worth it. His eyes locked on Arya, on her still glowing silver irises. And the silver wolf dies first. The palace erupted into chaos. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 6. The battle was brutal and immediate. Damien's forces poured through the windows like a dark tide, 30-40 wolves in human form, all armed, all ready to kill. They crashed into Cade's guards with the sound of metal on metal, snarls and screams filling the air. Arya shifted without thinking. One moment she was human, the next her white wolf burst free. Larger than before, more controlled. Her new instincts took over. She was a silver wolf, ancient royalty, and these rebels bowed to her. Except they didn't know that yet. She lunged at the nearest attacker, catching his sword arm in her jaws and crushing. Bones splintered. He screamed. She threw him aside and moved to the next. Protect the king. Ronan's voice boomed over the chaos. Hold the line. But there were too many. Damien had been planning this for months, and it showed. His forces moved with coordinated precision, driving Cade's loyalists back step by step. Arya saw Ronan surrounded by 3 attackers, his sword broken, blood streaming from a cut over his eye. He was going down. She didn't hesitate. Her wolf form covered the distance in 3 bounds. She hit the first attacker from the side, her weight and momentum sending him crashing through a marble column. The second turned toward her, blade raised. She caught his wrist in her teeth and yanked, dislocating his shoulder. The third tried to run. She let him. Ronan stared at her, breathing hard, recognition dawning in his eyes. You saved me. She couldn't respond in wolf form, but she positioned herself between him and the attackers, making her choice clear. All right then, Ronan said, grabbing a fallen sword. Let's end this. They fought back to back, woman turned wolf and skeptical beta, and something shifted between them. Respect, hard-earned and blood-bought. I was wrong about you, Ronan grunted, blocking a strike. You're not a liability. Arya's wolf rumbled, the closest she could get to, damn right. Across the room, Cade and Damien circled each other like the predators they were. You should have stayed dead, brother, Damien said conversationally, as if they weren't standing in the middle of a war zone. Would have been easier for everyone. Easier for you, you mean? Cade's voice was ice. How long have you hated me, Damien? How long have you been planning this? Since the day father chose you as heir. Damien's smile was poison. You were born 3 minutes earlier. 3 minutes. And that made you king while I became the spare. The backup. The forgotten one. So you decided to kill me. I decided to take what should have been mine from the start. Damien lunged. They crashed together with the force of avalanches, both of them shifting mid-strike. 2 massive wolves, one black as midnight, one dark gray, locked in a battle that shook the floor. Arya wanted to help him. Tried to move toward them. But then a familiar voice stopped her cold. Arya, darling. Over here. Lady Celeste stood near the doorway, smiling that too perfect smile. And behind her, held at knife point, was Elena. Arya shifted back to human, grabbing a fallen cloak to cover herself. Let her go, Celeste. Why would I do that? She's a liability. She knows too much. And she's far too fond of you. Celeste's knife pressed closer to Elena's throat. Damien promised me a place at his side when he takes the throne. I always did prefer the winning team. He's not going to win. Isn't he? Look around, sweetie. We're slaughtering your forces. Celeste's eyes gleamed. And once you're dead, the Silver Wolf threat dies with you. Then Damien can. Elena moved faster than someone her age should have been able to. She drove her elbow back into Celeste's ribs, twisted. And Celeste's blade sliced across her stomach. No. Arya was running before she realized it, catching Elena as she fell. Blood. So much blood. It soaked through Elena's dress, hot and dark and fatal. Celeste scrambled backward, eyes wide. I didn't mean, she moved. Ronan put a sword through Celeste's chest. She crumpled without another word. Elena, no. No, no, no. Arya pressed her hands against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. But it was too deep, too wide. Stay with me. Please. Arya. Elena's hand found hers, grip weak. Listen, your mother, she wanted you to have. Don't talk. Save your strength. Her grimoire. Elena coughed, blood on her lips. Under the floorboards, in my room. Third board from the window. Her eyes were fading. You're the key to everything. Promise me, promise you'll read it. I promise. I promise, just hold on. Your mother loved you so much. Never forget. Elena's hand went slack. Never forget, you're stronger than all of them. Her eyes closed. Her chest stopped moving. And Arya screamed. The sound was raw, primal, grief and rage combined. Her wolf surged up, wanting blood, wanting vengeance. But there was something more important than revenge right now. She laid Elena down gently, closed her eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Then she stood, shifted, and tore through the remaining attackers like a white storm. The battle turned after that. Damien's forces, seeing a silver wolf in full fury, began to break. Some fled. Others surrendered. The smart ones just dropped their weapons and lay flat. Within 20 minutes, it was over. Except for the two brothers, still locked in combat near the shattered windows. Arya shifted back, grabbed a sword, and started toward them. Then stopped. Because across the room, she'd spotted Elena's quarters. The door hung open, damaged in the fighting. Under the floorboards. Third board from the window. Cade and Damien were evenly matched. Ronan and the guards were handling the cleanup. And Arya needed to know. Needed to understand what Elena had died to tell her. She slipped away from the battle, into Elena's rooms. They were modest, a bed, a dresser, a writing desk. Arya crossed to the window, counting boards. 1, 2, 3. She pried it up with the sword. Underneath, wrapped in oilcloth, was a book. Old. Leather-bound. With a silver wolf embossed on the cover. Arya opened it with shaking hands. The first page was her mother's handwriting. For my daughter, Arya. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And there are truths you need to know. Arya read. And with every word, her world shattered a little more. Her mother, Elena Wolf, hadn't just been a silver wolf. She'd been the silver wolf, daughter of the last silver wolf queen, heir to a bloodline of power and magic that stretched back millennia. And she'd had a sister. Luna Sarah. Cade's mate. Arya's hand trembled as she turned pages, reading about how Drake had seduced her mother, convinced her to marry him, then systematically isolated her from Sarah. How he'd grown obsessed with silver wolf power, with controlling it, owning it. How when Sarah discovered Drake was trafficking pack members, she'd confronted him. And he'd had her killed. Sarah died because of me. Because I was too weak to stand up to Drake. Because I let him separate us. By the time I learned the truth, it was too late. Sarah was dead. And Drake had already bound your wolf, my darling daughter, to keep you from becoming what I was, powerful and free. More pages. More devastating truths. I tried to tell Cade. Tried to give him evidence. But Drake caught me first. I'm writing this as I die from his poison. The same poison he used on Sarah. If Cade finds you, and he will, I've made certain of it, he'll recognize you immediately. You have Sarah's eyes. Her smile. You're her blood, her legacy. Trust him, Arya. He failed to save Sarah and me. But he won't fail you. He can't. You're his second chance. Arya's hands shook so hard she nearly dropped the grimoire. Cade had known. The moment he saw her eyes in that cave, he'd known exactly who she was. And he'd claimed her anyway. Not because his wolf chose her. Not because she saved him. Because she was his dead mate's niece. His chance to protect the bloodline he'd failed 3 years ago. She'd been a mission. A duty. A way to assuage his guilt. Everything, the claiming, the protection, the tender words, all of it had been built on a lie. Arya stood, the grimoire clutched to her chest, and walked back into the throne room. The battle was winding down. Bodies littered the floor. Cade had Damien pinned against a pillar, sword at his throat. Arya. Cade's eyes found hers immediately. Thank the gods. Are you? You knew. Her voice cut through the room like a blade. You knew who I was from the moment you saw me. Cade went very still. Arya. The eyes, right? Sarah's eyes. That's what you said when you tried to kill me. You have no scent. She laughed bitterly. But that wasn't what shocked you. It was the eyes. Let me explain. You claimed me because I'm her niece. Because I'm your second chance to save a bloodline you failed to protect. She held up the grimoire. My mother wrote it all down. Every lie. Every manipulation. I didn't lie to you. You didn't tell me the truth. That's the same thing. Her voice broke. You made me think. I thought you actually saw me. But you just saw her. Saw your guilt. Saw your failure. Cade released Damien, who smartly stayed exactly where he was, and moved toward her. That's not true. Isn't it? No. He stopped a few feet away, hands raised like she was a spooked animal. Yes, I recognized you. Yes, I knew you were Sarah's niece. But I didn't claim you because of that. Then why? Because you're you. His voice rose with frustration. Sarah was gentle, kind, diplomatic. You're fire and steel and survival. Sarah would have tried to negotiate with Damien. You held a knife to his forces and dared them to move. You're nothing like her, Arya. Nothing. Then why claim me at all? Because I fell for you despite knowing who you were. The words exploded out of him. Because for 3 years I've been dead inside, just going through the motions. And then you appeared, this impossible, infuriating woman who saved my life and challenged me and made me feel again. You think I wanted that? You think I wanted to care about Drake's daughter? Don't you dare make this about. I'm not making it about anything except the truth. He closed the distance between them. I claimed you because my wolf recognized something in you. Because you're strong and brave and you deserve better than what you've been given. Because when I thought I might kill you under that curse, something in me broke. Pretty words. She hated how much she wanted to believe them. But how do I know they're real? You don't. That's what trust is. His voice softened. I failed Sarah. I'll carry that forever. But I didn't claim you to replace her. I claimed you because losing you would destroy me. Arya wanted to believe him. Gods, she wanted to. But Elena was dead. Her mother was dead. Her entire pack was dead. And all of it led back to lies and secrets and people using each other for power. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I can't trust you." Pain flashed across Cade's face. "Arya." A sound from the window cut him off. Low. Rhythmic. Growing louder. Marching. Ronan ran to the window, looked out, and went white. "Your Majesty. We have a problem." Cade joined him. Arya followed. Below, filling the valley that led to the palace, was an army. But not wolves. Vampires. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, marching in perfect formation. Their pale faces gleamed in the moonlight. And at their head rode a figure in dark armor. "Oh gods," Ronan breathed. Damien made a deal with the vampires. A laugh came from behind them. Damien, still pinned but grinning like he'd already won. "Did you really think I'd try to take the throne without backup, brother? The vampires want access to wolf territories. I promised them free passage in exchange for their armies." His grin widened. "You can't fight them all. You've lost." "Call them off," Cade growled. "Now." "Why would I do that?" Then Damien moved, faster than should have been possible with his injuries. He broke free from the guards, crossed the room in a blur, and grabbed Arya. His arm locked around her throat. And suddenly they were moving, backing toward the shattered window. "Let her go." Cade started forward. "Don't." Damien hauled Arya closer to the edge. They were 3 stories up. The fall would kill a human instantly. Might even kill a wolf if they landed wrong. "One more step and we both jump." "You're insane." "I'm desperate." "There's a difference." Damien's breath was hot against Arya's ear. "Here's the deal, Silver Wolf. Jump with me, and I'll call off the vampires. Your pathetic mate lives. Everyone you care about lives. Stay, and I give the order. The vampires slaughter everyone in this palace." "Don't listen to him," Cade said. "Arya, don't." She looked at Cade. Really looked at him. Saw the man who'd conquered territories but broken under a curse rather than kill her. Who'd claimed her as his when she was nothing and no one. Who'd looked at her with something that might have been love and might have been lies and she'd never know which. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "For everything." His eyes widened. "Arya, no." She grabbed Damien's arm, pulled him off balance. And jumped backward off the tower. The last thing she heard was Cade screaming her name. Then there was nothing but wind and falling and the ground rushing up to meet them. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 7. The fall should have killed her. 3 stories. Stone courtyard below. Physics and gravity didn't care about bloodlines or destiny. But halfway down, something inside Arya exploded. Not broke, awakened. Like a star going nova, like chains forged from fear and control finally shattering completely. Her silver wolf surged forward with a force that took her breath away. The shift happened mid-air, bones reforming, body expanding. She twisted, landed on 4 massive paws with an impact that cracked the stone. Unhurt. Whole. Powerful. Damien wasn't as lucky. He hit the ground beside her with a sickening crunch, his leg bent at an unnatural angle. He screamed. But Arya barely heard him. Because something else was happening. The grimoire's magic, her mother's final gift, was activating. Spreading through her like wildfire through dry grass. Suddenly she could feel them. Every wolf in the kingdom. Every heartbeat, every breath, every spark of loyalty or betrayal. The sensation was overwhelming, thousands of connections snapping into place all at once. This was what it meant to be a silver wolf. Not just strength or speed. Authority. Ancient, absolute, undeniable. She shifted back to human, standing over Damien in the courtyard. Above, she could hear Cade shouting orders, hear his guards scrambling to reach her. But she focused on the sensation spreading through her consciousness. On all those wolves, Damien's forces, still loyal to a traitor. Time to change that. She opened her mouth and commanded. Stand down. The words carried power, not volume, but weight. The voice of Queens dead 1,000 years, speaking through her. Every wolf in a half-mile radius froze. Including the 24 rebels still fighting Cade's guards inside the palace. Your alpha has fallen, Arya called out, her voice ringing across the courtyard. I am Arya Wolf, daughter of Elena, last of the Silver Wolf bloodline. I carry the authority of the old blood. The true blood. She let power roll through her words. Kneel. Or be made to kneel. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then one of Damien's wolves dropped to his knees. Then another. Then 5 more. Half of Damien's remaining forces abandoned him in that moment, recognizing something older and more fundamental than loyalty to a would-be king. They recognized royalty. No. Damien tried to stand, collapsed with a cry as his broken leg gave out. No, you can't, they're mine. They were never yours. Arya crouched beside him. You tried to take power through fear and violence. But that's not how real strength works. A horn sounded from the valley below. Long, low, resonating. The vampire army was moving. Oh gods. Ronan appeared at the courtyard wall, staring down at the approaching force. They're attacking. Damien must have given them the signal when he fell. Arya looked at the advancing vampires, then at Damien, then at the palace where Cade was fighting his way toward her. And she made a choice. Trial by combat, she called out. Loud enough for everyone to hear, the rebels, the loyalists, Cade's guards, even the vampires in the valley. I invoke the ancient right. I challenge Prince Damien for leadership of this kingdom. Silence crashed over the courtyard. You can't, someone said. Maybe Ronan. You're not. I'm a silver wolf. Royal blood of the oldest line. I have every right. She raised her voice. The law is clear. Any royal can challenge for the throne. Combat to submission or death. The winner rules. Cade appeared at the courtyard entrance, blood on his face, fury in his eyes. Arya, no. You've had your wolf for 3 days. And I'm the only one who can end this without more bloodshed. She met his stare, poured every ounce of conviction she had into her voice. You have to trust me. If you lose. I know what happens if I lose. The terms were clear. If she lost, Damien would demand Cade's execution as part of his victory. Everything would be lost. Trust me, Cade. Please. For a long moment, he just looked at her. Then, slowly, he nodded. Don't you dare die on me, he said roughly. Wasn't planning on it. She turned back to Damien. Do you accept? Damien's face was twisted with pain and rage. But he was many things, traitor, murderer, betrayer, but not stupid. This was his only chance. I accept. He shifted, and his broken leg healed immediately as his wolf took over. A massive black wolf, scarred from 100 battles, lips pulled back to show teeth meant for killing. Arya shifted too. Her white wolf, large but untested, facing a warrior who'd been fighting since before she was born. The courtyard cleared. Wolves formed a circle, Damien's former rebels, Cade's loyalists, all of them bound by ancient law to witness and honor the outcome. The fight began. Damien lunged first, all brutal experience and no mercy. He hit her like a battering ram, jaws snapping for her throat. Arya rolled with the impact, using his momentum against him, but his teeth still caught her shoulder. Pain exploded white-hot. Blood matted her fur. She kicked him off, scrambled away. He was faster, stronger, more skilled. Everything she'd known he would be. You can't beat him with strength, she realized. So don't try. Her mother's words from the grimoire echoed in her mind. A silver wolf's power isn't destruction, it's unity. It's seeing what others can't. It's finding the path no one else sees. Damien came at her again. This time, instead of meeting him head-on, Arya ducked under his strike and went for his legs. Not to injure, to unbalance. He stumbled. She was already moving, circling, forcing him to turn, to chase. She'd spent years surviving. Learning to be smart instead of strong, careful instead of bold. Every day in the wilderness had been a lesson in adaptation. And Damien had spent years winning through sheer dominance. She made him work for every strike. Dodged more than she attacked. Let him tire himself out while she conserved energy, waiting for openings. He caught her twice more, ribs, than her back leg. Each time hurt like fire. Each time she got away before he could finish it. Stop running. Damien's snarl was human-touched, frustrated. So she did. She planted her feet and met his next charge head-on. They collided with bone-jarring force, jaws snapping, claws raking. He was stronger, but she was desperate. Desperate to protect Cade, to save the kingdom, to prove she was more than what everyone thought. They rolled across the courtyard, locked together. Damien ended up on top, his jaws closing around her throat. This was it. The killing blow. But instead of fighting, Arya did something she'd learned in that cave, nursing a dying king back to life. She went still. Submitted. And spoke directly into his mind, the way royals could. You don't have to do this. Damien's jaws tightened, but he didn't bite down. You're not evil. You're hurt. You spent your whole life being second best, overlooked, forgotten. I understand that. You know nothing. I was rejected by my mate. Exiled by my pack. Called worthless my entire life. She pushed the memories at him, every humiliation, every moment of being dismissed. I know what it's like to be invisible. To want so badly to matter that you'd burn the world down just to be seen. Damien's jaws loosened slightly. But this isn't the way. Killing your brother won't make you whole. Taking the throne by force won't heal what's broken inside you. Then what will? I don't know. Honest. Raw. But I know murder and betrayal aren't it. I know that somewhere along the way, you stopped being Cade's brother and became his enemy. And I think you hate that as much as he does. Damien's wolf shuddered. His jaws opened, released her throat. He shifted back to human, kneeling over her. Tears streamed down his face. I just wanted him to see me, Damien whispered. Just once, I wanted to be the important one. Arya shifted back too, bleeding and exhausted. He does see you. He's been looking for you this whole time, his brother, not his enemy. I tried to kill him. Tried to kill you. Damien's voice broke. There's no coming back from that. Maybe not. But you can choose how this ends. She sat up slowly, every movement agony. You can die a traitor. Or you can yield with honor. Damien looked at her for a long moment. Then he bowed his head. I yield, he said clearly. To Arya Wolf. To the Silver Wolf. To the true queen. The courtyard erupted. Half the wolves howled in approval. The other half looked stunned. And in the valley below, the vampire army hesitated. Their ally had just surrendered. Their agreement was void. The vampire commander raised a hand, and the army began to retreat. Slowly at first, then faster, melting back into the darkness like they'd never been there at all. Cade crossed the courtyard in long strides, dropping to his knees beside Arya. You insane, brilliant, impossible woman. I prefer strategic. She winced as he checked her wounds. Did it work? You just took command of a kingdom through mercy. Yes, it worked. Ronan approached, his expression complicated. He looked at Arya for a long moment, then dropped to one knee. "My queen," he said. "You are the leader we needed. The leader we've always needed." Others followed. One by one, wolves knelt, Damien's former rebels, Cade's loyal guards, everyone. Even Damien, broken and beaten, knelt. Cade stood, helped Arya to her feet. "The throne is yours if you want it." "Our throne," she corrected. "I'm not doing this alone." He smiled, genuine, warm, everything she'd wanted to believe was real. "Our throne, then." But before either of them could say more, Cade's expression changed. His eyes went distant, then hardened. "What?" Arya asked. "My brother." His voice was flat. "The law is clear. Treason against the crown is death." Arya looked at Damien, still kneeling, still broken. "Cade," he yielded. "I know." Cade's jaw was tight. "And I hate it. But if I show mercy now, every ambitious wolf in the kingdom will think they can try the same thing. The law exists for a reason." He was right. Arya knew he was right. But it still felt like losing something important. She knelt beside Damien. "You fought with honor at the end. That matters." "Thank you," Damien whispered. "For trying." Cade's blade was quick. Merciful. Damien died without crying out. And Arya felt something shift in the kingdom. Wolves throughout the territories recognized that justice had been served. Harsh, but necessary. "Come on," Cade said gently, helping her up. "We need to get you healed. Then tomorrow." A guard came running, breathing hard. "Your Majesty." "Urgent news from the northern borders." Cade straightened. "What is it?" "The northern packs, Your Majesty. All of them. They've united." The guard's face was pale. "They're demanding the Silver Wolf's execution. They say she's too dangerous to live. They're marching on the capital. 50,000 strong." Silence fell over the courtyard. "How long do we have?" Cade's voice was deadly calm. 3 days, Your Majesty. Maybe less." Arya looked at Cade, then at Ronan, then at the crowd of wolves who just pledged their loyalty. "Well," she said quietly. "I guess we're not done yet." Cade's hand found hers, squeezed tight. "We'll face them together." "Together," she agreed. But as she looked toward the northern mountains, toward an army of 50,000 wolves who wanted her dead, Arya couldn't help but wonder if mercy and compassion would be enough this time. Or if the Silver Wolf's first real test would be her last. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 8. The labor lasted 3 days. 3 days of pain that rippled through the blood bond, making all 7 children cry out with me. 3 days of Cassius at my side, feeding me his blood when I grew too weak, his ancient face drawn with fear. 3 days of wondering if this impossible child would kill me after all. "I can see the head," the midwife said on the 3rd dawn. She was vampire, one of the few Cassius trusted, and her cold hands were surprisingly gentle. "One more push, my lady." "Just one more." I didn't think I had one more push in me. But through the bond, I felt them all, Cassius, the children, even the new life fighting to enter the world, and I found strength I didn't know existed. I pushed. And my daughter was born. She didn't cry at first. Just looked at me with eyes that were neither fully human nor vampire, something in between. Gray like her father's, but warm. Alive in a way that defied explanation. "She's perfect," the midwife breathed. "My lady, she's..." The baby opened her mouth and wailed, and the sound was pure and beautiful and entirely human. Then the magic came. It poured out of her like light, rippling through the blood bond connecting us all. I felt it wash over me, through me, into Cassius and the 7 children watching from around the room. Power. Pure, clean power that tasted like life itself. Cassius gasped. The children cried out. And then Lucian stumbled, his hand going to his chest. What is? I feel different, Margaret whispered. Father, I feel warm, Charlotte finished, wonder in her voice. I feel warm. I looked at them through exhausted eyes and saw it. Subtle, but there. Lucian's face was slightly less sharp. Charlotte's cheeks had a hint of color. They were changing. Growing. The bond, Cassius said hoarsely. He was staring at the baby in my arms, at our daughter, with an expression of absolute awe. Her birth, the magic, it's healing them. Healing? Thomas touched his face, as if checking for differences. But how? She's complete, I said softly, understanding flooding through me. Human and vampire, but whole. Not trapped between. Not incomplete. And through the bond. She's sharing that completeness, Cassius finished. His voice shook. 800 years. 800 years I've searched for a cure, tried every ritual, every spell. And all it took was love, Lucian said quietly. He was crying, ancient tears on a face that was slowly, impossibly, beginning to age. Genuine love. A mother who chose us. A father who risked everything to save her. He looked at the baby. And a child born from that choice. The midwife cleaned my daughter, wrapped her in soft blankets, and placed her back in my arms. She was so small. So fragile. But through the bond, I felt her strength, a tiny sun burning bright. What will you name her? Cassius asked. He sat beside me on the bed, and his hand trembled as he touched our daughter's cheek. I thought of everything we'd survived. The sacrifice. The broken ritual. The bonds that shouldn't exist but had saved us all. Hope, I said. Her name is Hope. The changes came slowly over the following weeks. Lucian grew first, just an inch taller, his features slightly more mature. Then Charlotte, who woke one morning with longer hair and hands that had grown overnight. Margaret's solemn face softened. Thomas's voice began to crack. James shot up 3 inches in a month. Isabel, silent Isabel, spoke her first words in 2 centuries, thank you. And Rosie. Sweet little Rosie grew so fast that I had to let out her dresses twice in the first month. She was 4 now in truth, not just appearance, and she laughed more readily than I'd ever heard. They were healing. Growing. Becoming. Not human, they were still vampire, still needed blood to survive. But they weren't trapped anymore. Weren't frozen in eternal, incomplete childhood. They were living. It's because of her, isn't it? Margaret asked one evening. We were in the nursery, though we'd need to rename it soon. The children were outgrowing it in more ways than one. Hope. She's the key. I looked at my daughter, sleeping peacefully in her cradle. 2 months old now, and already alert in ways normal babies weren't. She watched everything with those strange, beautiful eyes. She's part of all of us, I said. Through the bond. Her life force, her completeness, it flows through the connection, giving you what you were missing. A mother's love, Lucian said from the corner. He was reading, always reading, but he looked up now. He looked 14 now, maybe 15. Still young, but older than he'd been in 8 centuries. That's what Morrigan was trying to harness. But she wanted to take it. To force it. His eyes met mine. You gave it freely. I'd do it again, I said simply. Charlotte climbed into my lap, and I was struck by how much bigger she felt. She'd be 10 soon, in appearance and truth. Can we call you Mother? She asked quietly. We've wanted to, but we weren't sure if. Yes. The word came out thick with emotion. Yes, sweetheart. Of course you can. Mother, she said, testing it out. Then louder, Mother. One by one, the others joined in. Even Lucian, even ancient Lucian, whispered it with something like reverence. Mother. And I held them, as many as could fit in my arms, and wept. News came from my former kingdom 2 months after Hope's birth. It had fallen. Conquered by the same bandits my father had been too weak to fight off. The royal family had been executed, my father, my brothers, all of them. I should have felt something. Grief. Anger. Guilt. Instead, I felt nothing but relief that I'd never have to see them again. The family who'd poisoned me, lied to me, sold me like chattel. I'm sorry, Cassius said, finding me on the ramparts where I'd gone to read the letter. I'm not. I let the paper fall from my fingers, watching it flutter away on the wind. They made their choices. I made mine. I looked at him. I chose better. He pulled me close, and I leaned into his cold strength. I never thought I'd be grateful for your father's desperation, he said. But without it, you wouldn't be here. No, I agreed. I'd probably be dead in a failed kingdom, poisoned and alone. I turned in his arms. Instead, I'm here. With you. With our children. Our children, he repeated, and something in his face softened. I like the sound of that. So do I. He was quiet for a moment, then pulled back slightly. Elena. I know we're already married. Already bound in ways that go beyond any mortal ceremony. But he took a breath. I'd like to ask you properly. Not as a political arrangement. Not as a desperate bargain. But as a man who loves you. Who wants to build a life with you. My heart stuttered. He knelt. There, on the ramparts of Thornhaven Castle, the vampire king knelt before me. Will you marry me again? He asked. Will you be my wife, my partner, my equal? Will you help me raise these impossible children and face whatever comes next? I'd been offered to him once as a worthless bride, a barren woman good for nothing but desperation. Now he was offering himself to me as an equal. Yes, I said, pulling him to his feet. Yes, Cassius. I'll marry you. Again and always. He kissed me there on the ramparts, and through the bond, I felt the children's joy echoing from the nursery. Felt Hope's contentment. Felt the rightness of this moment. We'd found something neither of us had been looking for. A family. Strange and impossible and perfect. The second wedding was small. Just us and the children and a few trusted servants. We spoke vows in the castle's chapel as the sun set, painting everything in shades of gold and rose. I promise to love you, Cassius said, his gray eyes holding mine. To honor you. To stand beside you as we face whatever strange future we've created. I promise to love you back, I said. To see you, all of you, monster and man. To help you become the father these children deserve. I promise to try, he said softly. That's all any of us can do. We sealed it with a kiss, and the children cheered. Afterward, we stood together on the ramparts, all of us. Cassius and me, with Hope bundled between us. The 7 children, ranging from Rosie, who looked 5 now, to Lucian, who could pass for 16. Look at us, Thomas said, grinning. An actual family. A very strange family, Isabel added. She talked more now, her voice soft but present. The best kind, Margaret said firmly. I looked at them, these children I'd chosen, who'd chosen me back. At Cassius, who'd spent 8 centuries trying to fix his mistakes and had finally found something like redemption. At Hope, our impossible daughter who'd healed what magic couldn't. Enough for both of us, I whispered, remembering those words that had started everything. Cassius heard. He pulled me closer, his arm around my waist, and looked at our family, our strange, beautiful, impossible family. Enough for all of us, he corrected softly. And for the first time in 800 years, Lucian smiled. Not the bitter, knowing smile of someone who'd seen too much. But a genuine smile. Young and real and full of hope. Enough, he agreed. Finally enough. Epilogue, 5 years later. The castle felt different now. Brighter somehow, despite the shadows that would always linger in its ancient stones. I stood in the garden, watching the children play. They ranged from 10 to 21 in appearance now, growing at different rates, finding their own paths. Lucien was studying medicine, determined to help others the way he wished someone had helped him. Charlotte had discovered a love for music. Thomas was learning to paint. Margaret wrote poetry. James trained with the guards. Isabel tended the gardens. And Rosie. Rosie ran through the flowers, laughing, with hope chasing after her. My daughter was 5 now, fully human and fully vampire somehow, burning with life and joy. Behind them came the twins, born 3 years after Hope. A boy and girl as impossible as their sister, completing our family in ways I'd never imagined. Mother. Rosie called. Come play with us. I smiled. In a moment, sweetheart. Arms wrapped around me from behind. Cassius, still cold, still vampire, but somehow warmer than he'd been. Changed by love and time and the family we'd built. Happy, he asked. Ridiculously so, I said. You? I never thought I could be. He watched the children with something like wonder. I spent centuries collecting broken things, trying to fix them. I never realized the answer was so simple. Love isn't simple. No, he agreed. But it's enough. You were right about that. Lucien appeared on the path, home from his studies. He was 21 now in appearance, fully grown, though he'd always carry those 800 years in his eyes. But they were lighter now. Less burdened. Mother. Father. He still said both words like they were precious. I got my certification. I'm officially a physician. Pride flooded through me. That's wonderful. It's what you taught me, he said. That we can be more than what was done to us. That we can choose who we become. The other children gathered around, celebrating his achievement. Hope climbed into my arms, and the twins grabbed Cassius's hands, pulling him toward the house. And as we walked inside together, vampire and human, cursed and blessed, broken and healing, I thought about that moment in the throne room so long ago. When I'd confessed my shame, expecting rejection. When Cassius had smiled and said, I have enough for us both. Neither of us had known what we were really promising. A family built from broken pieces. Children saved and healing. Love that defied every rule and expectation. It was messy. Strange. Impossible. It was enough. More than enough. It was everything. I know you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Drop your thoughts in the comments section and share this video to family and friends. The end.